And it says, "We are live. Welcome, everyone, to Our Freedom Teachings of Aloha Ainidao Living. I am Julian Katari. I am with Blue Heron Woman, and each week we get together and go over a whole bunch of research that is done from our Council House investigations. That's what Blue Heron Woman does. And this 245th conversation or podcast, we are going to be covering a series of subjects. One of them is what your liver needs every morning, and some other things, maybe something about a soap plant and something about the Amish. But sometimes this gets changed around, so we'll just see what the new soup of freedom teachings has for us tonight. So welcome everyone.
Yeah.
So what's going to be on today's menu? What are we starting with?
Well, we're going to start with what your liver should receive every morning, first thing.
Okay. No,
So,
wonderful. Is it water?
nope,
No? Okay.
no. So it's 6:45 in the morning, and you might be drinking coffee or making it while not thinking about anything in particular. And at that same time, an organ on the right side of under your rib cage has spent the last 9 hours or so running a chemical shift. It cannot pause. And it has drawn on one specific molecule down to the lowest point of its entire 24-hour cycle. And that molecule is protein.
Okay.
So the first thing your liver should receive every morning is not coffee on an empty stomach. It is protein. And more precisely, the sulfur-carrying amino acid called cysteine that arrives alongside glycine.
That's why I always like to just go straight for the protein. Many times I don't like start with no fruits, with no nothing. I just want to go to straight to the proteins. That's what my body tells me.
Yeah, well, you're good. So, so cysteine and glycine are the amino acids that should be in that protein. And those two amino acids, why? Because they rebuild glutathione. That's what your liver uses to rebuild glutathione from, and glutathione is what is burned through the night. What's the importance of glutathione? Well, it's an antioxidant capable of preventing damage by free radicals and heavy metals. That's
Okay.
the most important part. So here's what makes your liver different from any other organ in our body. Roughly 1.5 liters of blood moves through our liver every minute
Mm-hmm.
to the heart. That's half of what the heart pumps. And 3/4 of that volume arrives through the portal vein that carries blood from the intestines to the liver. So your gut does not send absorbed material into general circulation. It sends it to the liver first. So our livers are not filters because filters are passive. Our livers are chemical processing organs that has to decide molecule by molecule what gets modified, gets stored, and what gets sent out. So since 11 p.m., it's been doing two things at once, and those two things compete.
Mm-hmm.
The first is fuel manufacturing. Our liver stores about 100 grams of glycogen, which is a chain of glucose that is packed like a spool of thread. So by about midnight, that spool is unwound and empty. And so from then on, your liver makes glycogen from scratch and pulls the raw material for that out of muscle tissue. The second thing clears everything that arrives through the portal vein and everything that our metabolism generated as waste. And both are still running at 6:45, and both are drawing on the same limited pool of amino acids or protein. Your cortisol awakening response, which is the sharp rise in cortisol that peaks 30 to 45 minutes after your eyes open, is actively pushing that fuel side harder. So if clearance is a chemical process, what is being spent? Well, it's not energy in a vague sense. It's actual molecules that are consumed and destroyed in reaction that has to be physically replaced from your diet or manufactured on site from things that come from your diet. Our liver clears foreign compounds in two ways, and the logistics of it are really worth understanding.
Okay.
So think of a shipping depot to understand it. Stage one is the unpacking floor. Stuff comes in from the portal vein, right? With a family of 50 enzymes that crack open the incoming molecules to expose a reactive handle on the molecules. Stage two then is the labeling department. 4 male labels get stuck on those exposed handles: a glucuronic acid tag, a sulfate tag, a glycine tag, and a glutathione tag. And once the molecule is labeled, it's now water soluble and harmless and gets sent to either make bile or out to urine.
Okay.
Every single label is made from raw material that has to be in store. And the unpacking department and the labeling department don't run at the same speed, and they are not regulated together. So stage one enzymes, that 50 enzyme family, can be sped up by alcohol, prescription drugs, street drugs, by compounds in cigarette smoke, by charred meat, and more. Stage two depends on availability, meaning it runs exactly as fast as its supply of raw materials allows. So if stage one outruns stage two, you have half-processed molecules that accumulate, and these are more chemically aggressive because, remember, they have an exposed reactive handle on them than the original molecule that arrived was. And this is why the timing of the first meal matters more than the supplements we take.
Okay.
Glutathione is the label that handles the most dangerous packages, and inside your liver is the most abundant molecule. But every time it neutralizes a reactive handle by binding to it, that molecule of glutathione is gone. And your liver can actually keep a large supply because it's built on demand by 2 enzymes that arrive in sequence. And the first one of these enzymes is limited by how much free cysteine is available, the amino acid, right? Cysteine is a scarce brick, and our body keeps very little of cysteine in circulation, and there's no cysteine warehouse in our body. There is only what we ate and what our liver can convert. So our liver's most important protective molecule, which is glutathione, can't be stockpiled. It's used up on use and built from an amino acid that we need to eat. Now, the truth is that the human studies on human glutathione, on humans having glutathione levels being lower in the morning, are really thin. Most of those studies are done on rats. But what we do know better about this is that plasma, cysteine, and glutathione shift measurably across the day. So there have been lots of human studies done on our blood levels of cysteine and glutathione. And they do drop across an overnight fast. And we know that the liver's demand for it does not stop while we sleep. So by the time 6:45 in the morning arrives, our liver has spent 9 to 14 hours consuming glutathione with no incoming cysteine to help make it. So we're not saying that extended overnight fasting is bad. It's actually good because it drives autophagy, the cellular recycling process that clears damaged proteins, and our liver participates in that. The fast is not the problem. What we use to end it and how long we extend it while simultaneously pouring compounds in that activate stage one is the problem. You've probably come across the philosophy that your liver detoxifies between 1 and 3 in the morning, and that does not actually physically happen because the liver runs continuously, modulated by circadian clock genes and by what we eat. And that comes from the traditional Chinese medicine. So habits like warm lemon water on waking is pleasant. It does absolutely nothing for your liver. The citric acid is metabolized by the mitochondria, and it does not supply sulfur. Milk thistle, the most sold liver supplement, does not repair anything, actually, while they claim that a compound of it does. And it's the most expensive way to not eat breakfast that has ever been sold. Coffee is one of the very few dietary items with consistent data pointing to decreased liver enzymes. So when When you go into the hospital or the ER for something, they always run a liver panel to see if your enzymes are elevated. If your liver enzymes are elevated, you've got some liver damage going on. So coffee decreases those. However, caffeine is metabolized by a stage 1 enzyme that speeds it up, right? So we're asking the labeling department to process new work at an hour when the raw material supply is lowest and nothing has replaced it yet.
Okay.
Studies have shown that glutathione decreases with age, and yet it is really tied to how much cysteine and glycine we are eating rather than the passing of time. Glycine studies show that our body's capacity to synthesize glycine falls short of our body's structural demand for glycine by like 10 grams a day for the vast majority of us. Collagen is 1/3 glycine, and glutathione needs 1 glycine molecule, and so do the bile acids.
Mm-hmm.
Now, bile is where the morning gets physical. Overnight, with no food entering our duodenum, a portion of the small intestine, the gallbladder is holding 30 to 50 mils of bile and pulling water out of it till it's 5 to 10 times stronger than it was when it left the liver. And it sits there for hours. So when the first fat of the morning reaches the duodenum, specialized cells release an enzyme to make the gallbladder release and eject its contents within the next half an hour. Studies have shown that prolonged overnight fasting with skipped breakfast puts us at a higher gallstone risk, because bile that sits there concentrates and then starts to crystallize, and that's what makes gallstones. Now, carbohydrates, one of the most controversial macronutrients ever, that so many of us skip thinking it makes us fat. Carbohydrate with protein at breakfast is the delivery of the exact molecule one of our 4 labeling systems is made from. So carbohydrates at breakfast is important too. There is another system that is a lever to increase glutathione production capacity, which is broccoli. Broccoli has a compound in it called sulforaphane, and it is released when we chop the broccoli or chew it. Sulforaphane activates a protein that switches on a whole battery of genes in the cell nucleus, and one of those switches tells the liver to build a bigger glutathione factory. Now, the key to this is broccoli sprouts actually carry far more sulforaphane than mature broccoli.
Okay.
And you need to leave broccoli sitting at room temperature if it's refrigerated, you need to leave it sitting at room temperature for 40 minutes before you cook it, so it can actually make the glutathione or the sulforaphane.
Yeah, I never refrigerate broccoli.
Well,
it's not very hot here, though.
Yeah. Here it comes, and here's the problem, is it comes 2 weeks old already, so it probably doesn't really have much sulforaphane in it.
Okay.
So, in 2000, a Swedish study showed that the first bite of the day is not a neutral event. It's a timing signal that tells our liver's circadian clock that the day has begun. So an inconsistent breakfast hour is confusing our liver. However, we need to listen to our bodies too.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just following something like this with rigid dogma. So the best is breakfast within 45 minutes of waking, with coffee after breakfast for it to be very good for our liver. And we should aim for 30 grams of protein with some carbohydrates for breakfast. 30 is not a magic number. It's roughly where most of us reach the leucine threshold, which we talked about last week for muscle protein synthesis. And it's reliably delivers enough total amino acid mass that cysteine and glycine both arrive in useful quantity. So how do we get 30 grams of protein? Well, whey powder sits at the top of the list. A 25-gram scoop of unflavored whey concentrate carries 0.5 gram of cysteine, but egg whites do also. So 3 eggs give about 19 grams of protein, with a strong sulfur amino acid profile. The yolk brings choline, which the liver needs to package fat into particles and ship out. Cottage cheese is also good protein, however, it's cysteine poor. So then you add 10 grams of plain gelatin or collagen peptides in coffee, and that delivers 2 to 3 grams of glycine. Or you could go natural and just eat chicken skin, or eat the gelatinous goo off the bottom of the roasting pan from the meat you made last night, specific from oxtail or shoulder cuts. Any cut of meat that gets sticky on your lips when it's cold tells you it's full of collagen. And again, collagen is 1/3 glycine. Mm-hmm. And glycine is notoriously absent from our breakfast, and it's the cheapest correction on the list. And then we need to add 10 grams of saturated fat to trigger the release of bile.
Yeah.
So once again, this isn't hard and fast. This is just, hey, here's what would be really good for your liver. Mm-hmm. And, the most important is listening to your body.
Yeah, that's always the key for health. And it's amazing to get the revelation of how it works, all the information that you get us here.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty.
How it biologically works, even if it's kind of technical, it's still. I mean, I love it. That's exactly what we need sometimes. Technical stuff.
Yeah, there's some mornings I wake up hungrier than hungry, so I can do breakfast within 45 minutes of waking. But like those 2 mornings, I'm not hungry. So if I put whey protein in my coffee, I used to do collagen peptides. And I stopped thinking that wasn't really important, but I can do that again. And if I did whey protein and collagen peptides in my coffee, then because I also found out that light roast coffee, there's a substance in it, and I don't remember what the substance is, that actually releases the visceral fat around your organs. That is fat. Because that is actually what causes cirrhosis, is fatty liver disease. And that fatty liver is caused actually more by soda pop with high fructose corn syrup than alcohol. But so fat that gets packed around our organs isn't good. And there's an acid in coffee that actually releases that. So it's actually very good for your body to have coffee first thing in the morning. And also cinnamon in it, and then a tablespoon of coconut oil. So if you add it, the whey protein and the collagen peptides, that would give your liver enough protein then to start making what the coffee speeds up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
If you were a person that really needed to do coffee first thing, and like I said, like the last couple of mornings, it's like I'm not hungry enough to eat right now. I'm going to wait for my body to tell me I'm hungry.
Yeah, I do that too. I mean, I don't eat right away. After I wake up, I'll do some stuff and then I'll eat.
There's some mornings I get up hungrier than crap.
I go straight for the protein, yeah. But then that's how you should do it. I mean, follow your body.
Yeah, exactly. Listen to the body. It will tell you what it needs.
Yeah.
So let's move on to how Amish farms run without electricity.
Alrighty.
So all of our electric meters are spinning while we listen to this. And they have been spinning every hour of every day since our house was built and occupied, and will continue to spin after we move out. Yet there are entire working farms, dairy barns, machine shops, households with no meter at all, and they are not sitting in the dock. Every American farm used to have this kind of freedom.
Yeah.
Do we hear that word?
Yeah, non-dependence is freedom. Like not depending on the grid is freedom. Yeah.
Yes, 100 years ago, and between 1935 and 1960, that freedom was taken apart. The Amish did not solve electricity with technology. Instead of asking, how do we get power to every corner of the farm, they asked, what actually needs power? So when you listed out almost everything on the farm meets only one of three needs, movement, cold, or light.
Mm-hmm.
And none of these require a power company. Water, movement, which would be water. Clothes need washing, movement, wood needs cutting, milk needs cooling, just for basics. There's more we can list out, but the Amish answer to that is one diesel or gas engine in the corner of the barn. That engine does not turn a generator, it turns an air compressor. And compressed air runs through ordinary pipe underground between buildings through walls to every corner of the farm. And at the end of those pipes, air-powered motors run the washing machines, the water pump, the workshop tools, the sewing machines. Entire Amish communities exist that convert standard appliances to run on compressed air. Maker magazine has documented this, and it is confirmed by a company called Cottage Craftworks, who has been selling the conversion kits to the Amish for years. Mm-hmm. So one engine, a few hundred feet of pipe, and the whole farm moves. When the engine is off, the bill is zero, and fuel is bought for the engine when work needs to be done. Now, cold. Before the grid, every farm in America knew how to make winter last all year for a little bit, for certain parts of their lives. Farm Collector magazine documented that well-built ice houses packed in sawdust lost less than 1/4 of their ice volume over the entire summer. Others use spring houses too, where cool groundwater flows and holds milk at cool temperature all summer for free. And then many Amish communities use propane and natural gas refrigerators, the kind that have no electrical parts, and they run quietly for decades with almost no maintenance. So cold was never an electricity problem to the Amish. It was a storage problem, and it was solved long before a power company existed. Mm. And not just to the Amish, all of the frontier, all of us are frontier ancestors. Now, light and water. Amish houses are designed around daylight instead of against it. After dark, they use propane lamps or small solar panels because a battery-operated lamp does not connect you to any company. Windmills or hydraulic ram pumps lift water to an elevated tank once, and then gravity delivers it to every tap on the property. No pressure pump, no power, and no bill. A hydraulic ram pump takes the force of moving water and uses that motion to push a portion of it uphill without fuel or electricity. Okay. The North Carolina State Extension Co-op documents this. So zero external energy required working from the motion of water itself. And the windmill has been lifting water in America for more than 150 years, and the windmills did not stop working. We just simply stopped using them. Mm-hmm. So the Amish have built complete systems around light, cold, water, and movement. And this is what we talked about last week with the concept of King Solomon and the Mayans. Yeah. Building systems that don't necessarily pay you money. They pay you in how they work and the lack of maintenance and the lack of monetary input needed to keep them going. Mm-hmm. So in 1900, almost every farm in America was energy free by default. Wind lifted the water, ice kept the food, horses moved the fields. And then in 1935, Roosevelt signed an executive order. One sentence and the Rural Electrification Administration was born. Congress made it law in 1936, and over the next 25 years, power lines reached nearly every farm in the country, and by 1959, out of 10 farms had electricity. We're not bashing up electricity, it's wonderful. However, look at what changed. Okay. The windmills are gone, the ice houses are torn down, and skills stopped being taught. Within one generation, farms that were free for a century could not function without the grid. Mm. Is that freedom? Yeah. We think that's so backward, but is that freedom?
No.
The grid was sold as freedom, but
Mm-hmm.
let's read the fine print of how the grid works. You do not buy electricity, you subscribe to it forever. There's
Mm-hmm.
no final payment of the day when the meter says you're done. Right? And the average American household pays $150 a month for every month for life, according to data picked from 2025 and 2026. And
Mm-hmm.
that's actually getting pretty low. That the Amish looked at that arrangement and they said, no, thank you. They weren't afraid of the wires. They did not want to lose their freedom for dependence on a system,
Mm-hmm.
on wires and a meter. So the heart of their whole system, the engine and the compressor in the corner of the barn, a used stationary engine, a compressor, the airlines that are pipe, and they run their laundry, their water, their shops, and all that one setup for decades without much maintenance. A farmer can do the repairs by themselves with one wrench. Compare that to the subscription of $1,500 or more a year or more forever, and having to pay somebody to come to your house and fix or service your units every month, every year, forever. Not every month, but every year, forever. The Amish system pays for itself in 2 years and then it keeps working. And everything after that is free movement, free cold, free water pressure. So the Amish are not living without power, they are living without payment.
Yeah.
And the electric bill was never a law of nature, never once.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we got to understand.
And there's so many other advantages that to using machines that are not powered by electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of, because I've actually met an Amish. I'm not sure if they were Amish or what they were, but they were living in Irimo, in the outside of the town of Ixiamas. They had
A lot of Mennonites escaped too.
yeah, they them specifically weren't Mennonites, because Mennonites tend to have, and they do have like a huge colonies in the area too, but they tend to like make huge colonies, and they just like uh, change that they clear cut the forest and for huge extensions and create these huge farms. Um, but no, this was just one small family that had this one medium-sized ranch, and they had built. I got to visit. He gave us a tour of the water-powered mill. And he's like, "Well, I wash clothes with this. It was so cool." She had like her washing machine was was water powered with the stream.
That's cool.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was really cool.
there's
And it
so
was just
much.
one small family. They didn't have a lot of. They did have a piece of cattle, and they had some ponds with fish, and they had some crops, but they were not like the Mennonites who just go for the money, right? In the sense, the Mennonites, at least in those areas here in Mexico too, they do bet on selling something and then buying everything. Most for many things, I think they do. I mean, use kind of like some other technologies. They don't go for like the latest, right? But
Right.
these
Yeah.
guys, these Amish guys were. I think they're a little more, you know,
Conservative. So
avoidant of modern
I,
technologies,
yeah.
which then when you see how they live, and all these things, I mean, just the fact that you don't have, you think that the washing machine is really great, and just runs on electricity, but it's not just that. They're made to be obsolete in a few years.
Yeah.
You got to be not just pay the electricity bill, you got to be buying the washing machine every 5 years.
Yeah.
And
Well, and
and,
it
and these
didn't used
people
to
have
be
the
that way though. And,
yeah.
and especially the new smart machines are, yeah, exactly.
So this family was a proof that you can just get rid of all that trouble just
And be
having
free.
yeah.
And that's what we're all searching for is freedom. And we don't realize that all this machinery, all this technology doesn't actually make us free. It binds us.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So Next, we're going to go into the one plant that replaces shampoo, soap, cleaning supplies, laundry detergent, and it self-seeds forever.
Okay, great, cool. I'm wondering what it is.
So this plant produces actual soap.
Mm-hmm.
The soap compound is called. So when I make goat milk soap with fat, I have to use lye to saponify it to turn it into right. The saponin is what.
Mm-hmm.
So this plant contains a crap ton of saponins.
Okay.
So it makes real foaming soap that creates lather when mixed with water. And I wonder if a family member of it grows on around Lake Titicaca, because they showed us on the island we went to that they use this plant and it foams the water, and that's how they clean their llama fur, their alpaca fur.
Mm-hmm.
It's not llama, it's alpaca.
Mm-hmm.
So this plant has naturalized across North America. It spread through root runners and drop seeds. Walk into any museum conservation lab in London and New York, and you'll be watching textile specialists working on irreplaceable artifacts. They're not using modern detergents. They are using this plant. The National Trust in Britain has used this plant to clean their most delicate textiles for decades and centuries. This plant is called soapwort, or Saponaria icanthus.
Okay.
Ancient Roman households grew it around their bathhouses, and they used it as a water softener 2,000 years before anyone invented detergent pods. Mm-hmm. The plant has earned dozens of folk names across regions. One name was called fuller's herb, and fullers were textile workers who cleaned and thickened newly woven cloth, and they did so with soapwort. That's why it got the name fuller's herb. Mm-hmm. They built their trade around this plant. For at least 2,000 years across Europe, Asia, and then North America, this plant handled the cleaning needs of entire civilizations, and then it vanished from common knowledge. Researchers in 2019 found that it produces a metastable foam. You can mix it with water and foam it up, and 85% of its foam remains stable after 1 hour, which means you will still have bubbles after 1 hour in the water. There is no synthetic detergent that does that. There is no bath bubble that does that. Your bath bubbles are gone within 5 minutes, pouring them under running water.
Yeah.
If you're a woman that likes taking a bubble bath, you can put soapwort in your bath and you'll have bath bubbles for an hour. Mm-hmm. 2021 research showed that soapwort cleans effectively while being gentler on skin and fabrics. It kills bacteria like E. coli without synthetic chemicals. However, in 1946, this is part of its demise, Procter & Gamble launched the Tide, the detergent Tide in Ohio. This was the world's first heavy-duty synthetic laundry detergent. Before Tide, people used soap flakes, not made of soapwort. I don't know what they were made of, but the result of these soap flakes weren't good. They turned white, material gray, and everything just got black. Mm-hmm. So Tide changed everything. And by 1953, detergent sales overtook soap sales, and since then, we've been dominated by synthetic detergents. So thousands of years of botanical knowledge were replaced by petroleum-derived chemistry. Let's say that again, synthetic detergents. Everything synthetic. Detergents, laundry soap, body wash, shampoo, conditioner are all petroleum-derived.
Yep.
Research.
Yeah, sorry.
What were you saying?
I while you made that pause, I wanted to fill in with saying what isn't these days? Everything is
petroleum. Yeah. What isn't? That's what we need to do, is start making a list of what actually isn't petroleum derived. Yeah. Fabric called polyester is petroleum derived.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything is even the things you eat. How bad could that be?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, the American Medical Association has never been run and operated and run by physicians. It's always and forever. It was started by Rockefeller for the simple purpose of putting petroleum into medications. So my answer to that is if the good Lord had wanted petroleum in my body, he would have put it in my body.
Or made a tree with it.
Or made a tree with it, exactly. Right? So research estimates that laundry water contributes approximately 35% of all the primary microplastic pollution in oceans. So our washing machines then are one of the largest sources of plastic contamination in the marine environment. And studies show that laundry washed with detergent, petroleum-based detergent, produces 86% more in microfibers than laundry washed with pure water. What are microfibers? Well, they happen because detergent works by loosening. It loosens it not when they tell you it loosens dirt. No, it loosens the fibers of the cloth so that the dirt comes off of it. So what does that do to your clothes? It wears them out faster.
Okay.
So a single wash then releases several million microfibers into the water supply. And then synthetic detergents also contain phosphates that disrupt nutrient balance in water bodies, leading to dead zones. They also contain formaldehyde and chlorine bleach and ammonium compounds that are horrifically harmful, as well as being forever chemicals that don't ever go away. Soap wort contains none of these. It biodegrades completely, and it can't be patented. That's why it had to be forgotten. A plant that sells seeds doesn't generate repeat seed sales. Imagine that. A crop that requires no fertilizer or pesticide input needs no input suppliers. Imagine that. No corporation benefits from people using this plant. No company deliberately suppressed soap wort, but the mechanism was just neglect. A plant that generates no revenue does not get commercials or billboards. Because it spreads by running roots and self-seeding, the university extension agents call it invasive and want us to get rid of it. But our descendants will call it permanent infrastructure or freedom. Because it thrives in USDA zones 3 through 9 across most of the USA, and it can probably be habituated to grow. Now, you just have to baby it for a while to get it to a new environment. It requires almost no care while providing a continuous supply of natural cleaning agent. Its flowers also attract pollinators, which we want. So the average American household spends between $150 and $200 a year just on laundry soap. Just on laundry soap. Add dish soap, hand soap, body wash, cleaners, and shampoo to that, and we're probably well over 1,000, if not 5,000 a year. And that money all goes to corporations flowing out of our household economy forever while poisoning the land and our water system. Buy a packet of seeds for $2.95 or $3.95, and within 5 years you have more soap wort than you could ever possibly use and never have to buy detergents again. A single decision like that made today changes the world for the next century. So don't ever say you can't do anything to change the world. Right? This is what self-sufficiency looks like. How do we use it? It's straightforward. Roots contain the highest amounts of saponins, and yet any part of the plant works. Harvest it when it's in full flower for the optimal saponin content, which is the soap, the bubble part. Right? Take 12 leafy stems and add them to a pint of water. Boil them for 30 minutes. Let the water cool, and now you strain out the plant material, and what remains is your liquid soap. It produces lather, it dissolves fats and grease better than Dawn, and it cleans effectively. You can dry the plant material for use later, and then you can also harvest the roots and dry them to be ground into powder to do the same thing, to mix with water. It can be used to wash hair, hands, body, fabrics, and clean the house. And if you need a quick clean, just bruise the leaves and put them in warm water for light cleaning. because the saponins release on contact with water and agitation. And that's what I saw. Whatever plant they were using on the island I went to in Lake Titicaca, that's what, when they showed us how they cleaned alpaca fur, that's exactly what they did. They put the plant in warm water and instantly it foamed, and they cleaned and the foam stayed. It didn't go away.
Yeah. Was it the same plant?
I don't know what plant they used. I know they told us, but I don't remember what plant it was.
Yeah, okay.
It probably was just adapted to Peru. So we know this plant that grows in USDA zones 3 to 9, but if it naturalized that quickly to America, chances are it would naturalize to many other places. So the last thing we'll talk about is we talked about the one law that governs us, which is love. Now, and we're all desiring freedom. So here's another one of our basic foundations of Uttleville Freedom Societies is what I'm going to talk about. Okay. So look around you for a minute. The room you're sitting in, the screen in front of you, the sounds around you, and note the thoughts that are moving through your mind. What if what you call reality is not really something you perceive and something you actually construct? We've been brought up in a materialistic world, meaning that we think of matter as the foundation of all existence, and that we are a solid thing, as well as rocks, trees, animals being solid and everything. But what if that's not true? For our whole lives, we've been taught that the world exists independently of us, and that perception is simply the passive art of observing what is already there, and what is already there is fixed and can't be changed. We've also been taught that because of this, we aren't capable of knowing how reality really works or knowing ourselves, and that we need intermediary authorities like politicians, police, doctors, lawyers, and therapists to govern our lives. And so we think we live free lives, and really we don't. Reality is not something we merely witness. It's something our consciousness or mind or psyche generates, continuously participates in organizing, so that every moment of our attention becomes an act of creation. And not creation in the sense of making objects appear from nothing, but creation in the sense of determining what version of reality becomes meaningful enough to enter our experience. Our brains are not receivers of reality, they are generators of reality. Every sight, sound, sensation we have ever experienced was not the world entering our mind, it was our mind constructing a version of the world, using the incoming signals as raw material. And this is basic common neuroscience now, as discovered by Jacobo Grinberg-Silberg in German Mexican. He discovered that we do not see reality as it is, we see it the way we were prepared to see it. So every second, an unimaginable amount of information surrounds us. Where does this information come from? We've talked about that briefly, right? Color, sounds, patterns, possibilities, relationships, events. Our nervous system cannot process all of the information that comes at us, so it must choose, filter, and organize. So the reality we see, experience, depends on what our system selects. Every brain generates an electromagnetic field that is measurable and extends beyond the boundaries of our skull and our skin into the space around us, and it interacts with the pre-space-time invisible matrix, or what the Mayans called the Nacht and Jacobo Grinberg called the lattice, the underlying structure from which all physical material reality emerges. And all of the ancients knew this without having big machinery to discover it. They knew that the physical material realm of existence is an epiphenomenon, meaning it is formed by something else beneath it. or around it, and that physical matter is a crystallization of the permanent, forever invisible world of that something else. They also knew that there are principles that govern every moment of our life, and we've never been taught about them, because if we were, we would be free to live without all these intermediaries. And then those intermediaries wouldn't need jobs, and they wouldn't get paid, and they'd have to figure out something different.
Mm-hmm.
So principle number one, you do not experience reality directly. You experience reality through the filters of your consciousness, your mind, or psyche. So here's a practice you can do. Take your hands and place them in front of you. Observe them, saying nothing. Notice how quickly your mind begins naming things like my fingers, my skin, my whatever. My hands are dirty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just stop that. Let the thoughts be, but just continue to observe and see how your perception of your hands deepens. This experiment can reveal that most of our life is revealed through recognition, and recognition is memory, which is the layers of the consciousness or mind. Perception is actually immediate experience, but every time memory dominates, we stop meeting reality as it is, and we meet our previous ideas about reality. So, if we're constantly meeting yesterday, how can we ever reveal something new? Principle number two, the pre-space-time, as Jacobo Grinberg called it, the pre-space-time matrix, and the Egyptians called it the matrix. Physics calls it just space-time, or the unified field, right? It responds to coherence, not effort. So a coherent neural field is one where the different regions of our brain are working in harmony, generating waves that reinforce each other rather than canceling each other out. An incoherent field is one where the regions are working in opposition, so they generate noise, interference, static, and the vast majority of us operate in that state more often than not.
Okay.
A coherent field expands outward with clarity and force to interact with the Nacht, the space-time matrix, the lattice, in a way that begins to shape the emerging experience, the world we bring forth.
Mm-hmm.
Not the earth, right? Religions teach us God is going to come take us to heaven and make a new earth. No, it's the world we've created, the world of life as it is while we're living on spaceship planet Earth. It's a difference. And this is a foundation of Uttleville Freedom Society that we got to understand. Are we okay with the world as it is today?
Mm-hmm.
I know both you and I are, so.
Yeah.
So the doorway to coherence is not our brain, it's our body.
Okay.
Imagine that. So here's the experiment. Find the position where your body can be still. And this is what Eckhart Tolle calls presencing. Sitting is ideal. Spine upright, feet flat on the floor, hands on your butts. No, hands on your thighs.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize I had flip thoughts. Close your eyes and go inward, but don't try to quiet your mind. Oh, you're not going inward. Don't try to quiet your mind, which is what meditation does. No, trying to quiet your mind actually generates incoherence. So anytime you resist thought, you feed it. So just become aware of your body as a whole. If you have to slowly scan your body from head to toe to feel it, or from toe to head to feel it as a whole, do that. But this is harder than it sounds, because our thoughts like to run away with us. Mm-hmm. But it's simpler than we think. It's harder than it sounds and simpler than we think it is. It just takes practice. You don't need to feel anything dramatic. Simply hold your whole body in awareness the way you take in an entire landscape with a glance. let your thoughts exist and don't follow them. If you do, just bring your attention awareness back to your body and aim for 45 seconds of this, and then just slowly increase it. And if during that time you felt a fraction of stillness, which would be the sense of your body becoming more real than your thoughts, that is neuronal coherence forming. Your brain just changed its baseline operating state. Inner stillness is not the absence of thought, it's the presence of awareness without the compulsive identification with the thoughts. And attention emerges from this inner stillness, and attention is the instrument through which the field is shaped. So think of attention like a flashlight. Where the flashlight falls in the dark, the details appear. So where attention rests, our experience becomes richer, and where attention disappears, experience fades. Attention determines what becomes experientially real. And when we can observe attention or awareness, we can redirect it, and this is where real, true, absolute freedom begins. And this is the most important foundation. This is the Toltec Eagle Warrior concept, right? Mastery of the mind, mastery of your attention.
Yeah. Wow.
Because this is where true freedom, real, absolute freedom begins.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay. Alrighty, so this is 4 sections to this conversation, and they've all been very, very, very wonderful and useful. And are we gonna have more something like this next week?
Yeah, next week we're gonna start with what a smile does to our brain. Why we should make a practice of, as my sister says, a resting bitch face. Should be a smile, nothing other than.
Yeah, I've been working on that actually.
Yeah, I do too. I'm becoming a practitioner. And next week we're also going to talk on extension of this of attention. The next thing becomes our words, the language, right? How words, right? Awareness of that too. And then we'll look at some building styles that were pre-air conditioner and that actually help us cool our houses that disappeared because, with them we don't need to buy air conditioners.
Okay.
So again, a loss of freedom. We think we're so free, and we don't realize how much we're not free.
Yeah.
Till we start looking at the ways of the ancients, and some of these ways weren't even that ancient. And then we'll see. We'll see what plant we look at. We will, I guarantee, we'll look at a plant again.
Okay. Well, it sounds very, very fun and interesting. We're going to do that 15 minutes before, you said, for next week?
We'll start 15 minutes earlier next week because it's getting dark earlier.
8:30 Central Standard Time up there in the U.S., 7:30 if you're in Central Standard Time in Mexico. And anywhere else, you can check what time that's in your time zone. Otherwise, you can watch this recorded in Rumble and YouTube, Aloha Nidao Living, and you can also watch the shorts in Freedom Shift. Thank you for being here, folks. We wish you the best waterfalls of blessings, and if you want to become part of this, you can do so at alohanidao.living.com, or you can write us a message anywhere, and we'll facilitate or answer any questions that you may have about what we're doing and how you can join us. Thank you for your attention, and remember to master your attention and to follow the path of freedom, because there's no other path really on this life. Thank you. See you next time.